Well, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, knows about 662,000 non-citizens with criminal histories, but only has about 15,000 of them detained, so they say. That means that almost 98% of the criminals that the United States knows about are roaming the streets of America right now. This comes from an official ICE document, and we're going to go over it right now here on the show. All right, let's check this out. Check this. So this is from Tony Gonzalez from the U.S. House of Representatives. It's a response to a request from Representative Tony Gonzalez, who asked for these numbers back in March. First, some clarification. Are they illegal immigrants? ICE doesn't say so. So let's play this out a little bit as conservative as possible. Okay, so let's pretend that these numbers will just be as conservative as possible with these numbers. Most of them probably are, but they could also be people with green cards who are legal but not citizens, and that wouldn't really matter even if we did do this conservatively. Even if they are legal, breaking the law should get even a legal person deported, shouldn't they? You would think so, but that's not the way of it anymore. Breaking the law has no consequences in the United States of America for non-citizens. So if you're an illegal immigrant in the United States, you can break the law, you can murder people, you can rape. It doesn't really matter. If you're an illegal immigrant in the U.S., you can get away with all of that, according to this document. What matters is that ICE is tracking criminals and allowing them to stay in the United States. It knows that it's doing this. It's allowing them to stay right here in the United States. So when we lived in Europe, we had to provide clean background checks from the United States government and the Portuguese government to prove that we had no criminal records whatsoever. If we had criminal records, Portugal then could revoke residency to people living there, and it could have the right to deport individuals, right? That's what it could do. That law exists to keep the Portuguese people safe from criminals. It's a part of a social contract. Now, in the United States, you clearly don't have that social contract with our government. Our government knows about criminals and cannot remove them from our borders. Even ICE is frustrated about this right now. They exist to protect our borders and are not able to. They are not able to. Here is how they explain this.
All right, I'll take it from here. So what they're saying is that they recognize that some jurisdictions are concerned that cooperating with federal immigration officials will erode trust with immigrant communities and make it harder for local law enforcement to serve that populations. However, they say, and everyone who's been paying attention to this has said all along, sanctuary policies can end up shielding dangerous criminals who often victimize those same communities. The problem here is that their hands are tied. That's what they're saying. It's an utter gut punch to anyone that watches this, because there's no immigrant community saying, oh yes, we want a free and open border so that criminals can come and terrorize, because where do they terrorize first? Us. So if they're specifically talking about Spanish-speaking communities, none of these Spanish-speaking communities want criminals to come in and hurt their daughters, kidnap their kids, steal from their hard-earned earnings. No one wants that. So how do liberals answer for this? Like, oh, we love all Latins. Just let them all come in, get documented. All are welcome. The Latin communities, this is why they're turning away from democratic policies, are saying you're letting through criminals. They're raping and stealing. But the Democrats' response is, yeah, but they're your people. You should be happier now, right? So it's a really racist way to torture migrant communities by open borders and placing more criminals inside those communities. So let's turn to the numbers. Now, what the White House says is that these numbers have been misrepresented. They're not saying that they're wrong. They're saying that they're being misrepresented. Well, I'm not exactly sure what they mean by misrepresented. Karine Jean-Pierre did not actually expand on this, but these are the numbers that ICE is saying. I think we can, at the very least, assume that it's, let's be conservative, I'm going to assume it's double this. But even if these numbers are legit, it's terrifying. So the way ICE is representing this to us, I found not sufficient. So I'm going to show you how I worked up these numbers in a second. So what they're saying, total criminals, and we're going to look at how they break down by crime, is about 15,000. So currently detained is about 10,000 with criminal convictions, and then pending convictions is about 4,700. So let's say that's about 15,000. Now, of the ones that they do not have detained, but either know that they're criminals, meaning we've convicted them or some other country has convicted them, or they're pending criminal charges. Well, it's upwards of 600,000. So I wanted to take those numbers and put them in my own spreadsheet because, number one, I'm a Virgo and I love spreadsheets, any opportunity. But also, I want to know what the percentage is. What are these totals? What are the total numbers of crimes versus the total numbers of detainees? And it's really easy to see. So let's just look at the totals and then we'll look at it by crimes. So first of all, total people here that have done crimes, total number 662,000, but in custody 15,000. So that's 2% detained, 98% roaming free. Now the document also says that they only have 40,000 beds in detention centers, so we can't take care of these people. We know that they're chartering flights for migrants, so we could say you're removed for now. We'll get you back if you prove your innocence, but for now, our priority is to protect the American people, so you gotta go. They're not saying that. They're not doing any of that. They're just letting them go free. Now, if you read the tone of this document, clearly ICE is frustrated by this. Their whole reason for being is to keep the borders safe, and they're not allowed to do it. But these are the numbers. Now, if you look at this chart again, look at assault. Out of 108,000 people that they know have committed assault, they've detained 4%. This is one of the higher numbers, and it's even still totally crappy. That means 95% of assault perps walking free. Burglary, 18,000 offenders, 2.8% in custody, the rest walking free. Dangerous drugs, which is the root cause of the fentanyl crisis we have right now. We know of 72,000 offenders, but they have only 1,600 in custody, so 97% of them free to roam about the country. Let's move on to homicide, kidnapping, and robbery. You should, again, look at this yourself. I can send you this document with my workings because I want to say my spreadsheet representation is better than ICE. You can have it if you'd like, or you could make one yourself. But again, if we know of at least 15,000 murderers, how many have we detained? 329. That means if you murder someone as a non-citizen of America, you have a 98% chance of getting out and getting away with it. Kidnappers, we know of about 3,500, but have only detained 112. 97% rate of letting them go. These are people who steal children. Robbery, larceny, immigration offenders, every one of these, you see the percentage not detained, 95% or higher. Now let's move on to sexual offenders, weapons offenders, and traffic violations, which may seem like nothing, but I think traffic violations is a bigger threat to us than you think, because migrants who bring lawlessness to the country drive dangerously and can kill us all. So sex offenders and sexual assaulters, between 3 and 4% of them in custody, the rest out on the street with their penises to do whatever they want, right? People who steal property or vehicles. I'm not sure how this is different than burglary. Nevertheless, same amount of numbers. Traffic offenders, only 1.43% of them in custody. Weapons offenders, 17,000 migrants with illegal weapons, 96% not in custody. So can we trust these numbers? Well, J.J. Adams, the former Border and Customs agent, who's a friend of the show, says absolutely these numbers are comically no. J.J. Carroll. Who's J.J. Adams? I'm thinking that's nobody,
Abrams,
right?
I think is who you're thinking of, and that's a
director. Is who I'm thinking of, who made Star Wars. I don't know how much he cares about that. Right. So we know that J.J. Carroll knows about this and says that these are comically low numbers. But even if we take them at face value, it shows 500,000 non-citizens that ICE lets go free inside our borders, so not making us safe. Now, Kamala Harris visited the border last week. She kind of looked through the wall and she announced that she would be announcing new restrictions. None of her new restrictions on the border would help the government deport criminals. That seems to be a non-issue. It's not like, okay, well, maybe we can stop them. But what about the ones that are already here? That are kidnappers and sexual assaulters and murderers. Can't do anything about that. That's the way it is. It's just the way it is. Okay, so why isn't this bigger news, though? Why does it seem like only conservatives care about this? Why would Democrats ignore this? Is it really just as stupid as that they would have to admit that Trump had a point about the borders, and that would sort of break their operating system to ever validate anything that Trump said? It seems like that's the case. Discussing this recently, Greg Gutfeld said that it betrays all logic because surely Democrats love their families, and two, surely they don't want to be stolen from and raped too, right? I'm just going to let him say it.
In the real world, she would be toast. And I don't like getting riled up for no reason because this story is so unbelievable. I wanted to see if it was reported elsewhere. You know, it couldn't find it on MSNBC, CNN, Drudge. You have the release of hundreds of thousands of foreign criminals, like they emptied the jails, raped thousands of rapists, thousands of murderers. And on the pages of all of these networks, the death of Maggie Smith, which is sad, great actress, Lana Del Rey's marriage, P. Diddy rumors, but nothing about what is easily one of the most big, probably the biggest crime story I've ever seen. So we know that Democrats watch this show. Some of them hate watching. But if you're watching this, the media doesn't want you to know this information. They don't want it to reach you. They would rather you die or be raped than Trump be right or find out the truth. So you can hate Fox all you want. You can hate Trump all you want. You can hate me. But you can't hate yourself and your family so much that you're going to ignore a story that puts them in danger. Now, even if these numbers are off by 50%, please, I think that the fact checkers should fact check it. You know, tell us, no, it's not 16,000 rapists. It's only 8,000. It's only 7,000 murders. Cool. I'm glad you're okay with that. I'll take your fact check. But anybody who defends this or says it's not that big a deal is complicit, and they should be held accountable. Every victim of every crime by the people that are in here that we haven't vilified, who are actual villains, you need to file a class action suit against this government. You know, these bastards were more offended by stories of cats being eaten than real stories reported here of actual rape and murder. And if you ask why those other stories existed, it was the only way to get these a-holes in the media to even look at this story. They can only see immigration as a gotcha moment for political gain. There are actual people that are dying. This is a huge story. Where is it?
Well, it's here on Redacted. Does it help? I don't know. But, you know, I think that the ICE document shows why liberals don't care, and it makes me want to cry. It says because these murderers and rapists, they prey on the migrant communities that they move into. So it's not us, right? It's not sort of middle, affluent, upper class, keyboard warrior type workers. So we can say we love all Latins and not really care that they're living in dangerous communities because our ignorance. And so it's, I don't know what it is.
And the sad thing is, too, if you try to bring awareness to it and you try to talk about it in even a reasonable way, the climate is so chaotic that they just label you a racist and all this other stuff. It's like we can't even have conversations about it and try to figure out what do we do? Like, what can we do?
I don't know. We can talk about it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's the people who are least likely to be victimized by it for now, until it spreads into all communities, who can say and ignore this because they can afford to for now.
Yeah. I mean, even Greg's comment, though, I mean, regardless of what you think about Fox News, I see a lot of people trashing Fox News, and that's fine. But his comment is pretty spot on, because even if they try to walk these numbers back and they're like, no, it's not 15,000, it's only 7,000 murders. Oh, okay. So
that's cool by you?
The hundreds of thousands. And I talked with J.J. Carroll today about these numbers, and he said these numbers are bogus. I mean, it's way higher than this. Way higher. Where are they getting these numbers that they have these individuals detained in any kind of way? They don't have them detained. Where are they detaining them? All of these beds are empty. All of these ICE beds, detainment beds are empty. And he knows. He's gone to them. He's contacted all of his ICE friends and Border Patrol agents. They're not holding these individuals. They've released them.
Yeah.
And they don't know where they are in the United States.
Right.
And they're just out there. And so you got murderers that you know about, and the White House is now trying to walk these back. It's going to be very interesting to watch this vice presidential debate.
You know, there was a best-selling book recently called American Dirt. And the plot of the book is these a mom and a son who are victims of cartel violence, and then they illegally cross the U.S. border. They literally cross with a person who tries to rape them as they're going across with these two young girls who consistently are at risk of being raped because they're young and pretty. So I think this narrative of like, it's not just criminals, it's good people too, but the good people are being chased by rapists. And so the good, like, they're proving their own point that a secure border would secure everyone you want to care about. And it's such ignorance to say an open border is a compassionate thing to do. And you can only say that until it doesn't hurt you. And it's a tunnel vision that I literally can't stand it. But here are the numbers. Now, how the White House says they're being misconstrued, I don't know. I took exactly that document and put it in my prettier spreadsheet. You can check my math if you want to. We're not misconstruing anything. This is what ICE says they know about and they cannot detain. Period.